What up, everyone? Shark here. Got a 2v2 for you today. Have you ever played a 2v2 and you're wondering, what is my teammate doing? Right? Because it's kind of hard to like pay attention to your stuff, but then also know what they're up to. I play a lot of 2v2s with SKENG, and I never really know what he's up to over there. We either win because I'm awesome or we lose because I play terrible, right? So I have this game of SKENG playing with Alpenwell against an arranged team from Denmark. We'll call him Mr. Silk and Mr. Smooth. Super high level 2v2 here, and just really excited to see, one, how this plays out, and two, what my teammate does so I can fix him or fix myself going forward. Co-casting this one with me is my boy RedLeader, and that's it. Enjoy. All right, so double DAK for the Axis, obviously. So SKENG here is in blue. Alpenwell is in teal. Alpenwell going immediately for Bersaglieri, so that won't get old. And then we have in purple is Ted Seaman Silk playing USF, and then in red is his teammate Thomas Smooth. And Red, you said you've played Thomas Smooth and Ted Seaman Silk before. They're a Danish arranged team. Any lessons learned from playing these guys?
Mr. Seaman and Mr. Smooth are very coordinated. Very, very coordinated. They love to push together. They love to be very aggressive, back capping, forcing one player off and capping that side of the map, rotating over and bullying the other player off the other side of the map. So when you're facing these guys, you always have to keep in mind, you have to be prepared for the double team and to rotate to assist your teammate if they are getting bullied, especially if they are the ones that are controlling like your native resource points. So you just have to keep that in mind when you're facing these guys. They tend to get a little overly aggressive in the late game and have a little bit too much faith in their armor. So if you can lull them into a false sense of security and just start sniping where they tanks, you got it. Yeah.
And I feel like so much of the 2v2 gameplay comes down to the late game and who can avoid making big mistakes. Because I know it feels like right now, if you let especially the Axis players get lots of artillery and the really heavy late game armor up, it can be hard to deal with. But it really just comes down to, like, if you're throwing away vehicles, you're going to lose. And really good players don't give up easy, they don't throw away vehicles like that in the late game.
Yes. So, especially if you're up against US and they're salvaging, then you're just bleeding your entire economy and they're taking it from you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen some really good DAK players and DAK players on Axis teams leverage the wrecker ability as well. So it looks like pretty even map control here early. Both sides kind of, one player focusing on maintaining the +10 fuel, one player kind of focusing on playing in the center. For the Brits, we have 2 sappers, Vickers, and a dingo, fairly normal build. For the American, 3 rifles and a scout, which is actually kind of an older meta build. Normally you see a second scout or some other sort of capping, harassing vehicle. Relatively infantry heavy build for the DAK players. Got 2 P-Grans, a Pioneer, 250 and a Krodschützen for SKENG, and then 3 Bersaglieri, Pioneer, and a Krodschützen for Alpenwell. So what do you think of the Bersaglieri build here for Alpenwell?
They're really annoying to go up against, but they do not scale well into the late game. So if you can weather that storm, they are counterable. And the nice thing about the Bursas is, like, if they choose to go for Karos, the Bursas fall off very quickly. If they choose to go for the Bursa upgrades, you're not going to be seeing a Karo rush. So that's quite comforting. And seeing what they choose as far as whether or not they upgrade their Bursas is a great and easy tell to know what their strategy is going to be.
That's a really good point. I feel like outside of ones, the best Bursa builds that I see are builds where they combine Bersaglieri and Panzer Grenadiers for the utility and kind of the late game staying power.
I think you want at least one just for an emergency snare.
Yeah, and Bersaglieri I feel like don't scale as well against infantry sections as they do against rifles. Rifles you really have to lean into with upgrades like advanced logistics and survivability. And I feel like the infantry sections with the training and the upgrades like the Bren or the Recce package scale much better in the late game. We are seeing lots of kind of mass infantry play here from the rifles and the Bersaglieri. So as a little
Company of Blobs 3 right here.
Yeah, it's a little bit more typical for team games. It can be really frustrating to deal with. the Bursley blob, when they get the Bredas, can be really tilting to run into constantly.
They have a lot of alpha, that is for sure.
Yep.
But you know, and the most frustrating thing is that they have the out of combat sprint that sort of takes a second to deactivate. So if the blob is being microed properly, it's actually pretty hard to counter them with a machine gun. So we'll see what the allies have to answer this. I think maybe a flak feeling, or flak feeling. What allied light vehicles? Maybe a Humber would be great for the flare.
Yeah, and just the general anti-infantry firepower. I mean, you can't see me, but I'm nodding along with you. I think the Humber is a great counter to the Bursley early.
Especially since they can't snare it, and you know the Humber's biggest weakness is its tiny HP pool.
Yeah, it's a shame. So Thomas Smooth does not have the Aussie battle group in his rotation. One thing that's really nasty to play against is like a double over-repaired Humber.
Oh yeah, that's super infuriating to play against. Over repair is one of the best abilities in the game.
We're about to see the Panzer Grenadier Alpha Strike on this Vickers, assuming SKENG can micro properly. There he goes. He takes too long to get that shot off, and that Vickers gets away. So do better.
Espionage.
Do better, friend.
Is very scary to see. Okay, so that Humber ran over a mine and took a massive volley of penetrating shots that penetrated its frontal armor. It's gonna go down.
Oh my gosh. It literally died to the Bursley rifles. I don't think that's what Relic intended when they gave rifles the additional penetration at short range. I think they wanted rifles to do better against ultralights. This is something I've actually been kind of hoping that they would relook the penetration and armor values on the vehicles, because I feel like lights are too chonky, but medium tanks are not sufficiently chonky.
We have a little bit of trash talk going on in the chat here. SKENG is asleep, apparently.
Yeah. Well, so the funny thing is, I can't see the chat because of the layout, so I'm actually okay with that. The only person that's allowed to be toxic to SKENG is me, and that's because I play with him. Oh no.
SKENG is so sleepy that he loses a Panzer Grenadier for no reason. Oh my goodness, retreat. What did he mean by that? What was his intention? Is that to send a message, do you think? Do you think he's just flexing his manpower economy?
Well, look at this. I mean, your point earlier is exactly right. So the allied players making a big combined push here in the center.
Yep, and they're really good at they're good at playing together. Yep. And that's going to be the thing that keeps them in this game, because they are outmatched as far as elo against these players. So, you know, if they can make their teamwork work very well, Max is not the most flexible of teammates. So if you can double him, make him rage, you know, and then exploit the fact that the Axis team is not as coordinated as the Allied team, that could keep them in this game.
Well, the double flak filling, I love this as a counter to the Allied infantry. That because of the suppression and then the DPS, and the flak filling is just so much better than the Allied equivalent, the Quad 50.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with the flag feeling. You literally can't go wrong with it.
Yeah. Alpenwell, great mine placement on his side. SKENG is consolidated here in the center. And we got this, you know, ambush mechanics squaring off here with the commando support section as well, kind of hiding out in the middle, which could set up either a dangerous flank or that Hawker strafe. And
he's got this overlapping network of invis, which is going to be really, really difficult to dislodge for the Allies, especially since there's no recce section on the field. There's only one scout as far as I'm aware. They don't have the vision needed to counter the alpha of this invis.
Yeah, although that commando support section takes a ton of damage but doesn't drop a single model. And that's a little bit of a missed opportunity here for the Axis.
We've got a whole minefield going down because SKENG here's got 2 funk wagons, and they can plant mines. You're going to see mines all across the front line here.
I really hope they're planting the Regal. Nothing is more satisfying than watching like a Crusader try to dive you and just immediately have an engine destroyed crit.
He actually did just plant a teller. It's the teller for the DAK, but yeah, he just planted one.
Yeah, that's super satisfying. So, Ted Silk here investing very heavily on his rifles. So he's got a half track out. He's actually gone armored, so it looks like he'll go for easy ace in the late game. But we're seeing already the BAR upgrade. Oh, the 75 mil half track gets one shot off on the Flakverling.
Ooh, near miss there.
Whiffs, yeah. And
that's always bad to see.
No vehicle survivability upgrade for SKENG at least. So now, granted, it's not an AT gun, so it'll still chonk 2 shots at least. But worth keeping an eye on. That's one of the other things about double DAK is as they get their upgrades, even their light vehicles become so durable, it can be really challenging to deal with as you get into the late game. You know,
fun fact for y'all watching at home: the Kratschützen can survive a mine if it has the both of the health upgrades for survival package.
It's anything. It's like if it gets Vet 2, if it gets or either one of the DAK upgrades, it'll survive a mine strike.
Yep.
And then the Dingo can survive a mine outright. I really think that needs to be adjusted. The ultralight vehicles.
I think the Dingo surviving is pretty, you know, explanatory just because it can't cap and it's got really bad maneuverability. The biggest thing it's got going for it is its armor and its HP pool. You know, if the Jeep could survive a mine, that would be a little ridiculous. But the Dingo, in my opinion, that's all right.
You know, I guess in 2v2s it's one thing. In ones it can be really frustrating when you
it's super tilting.
Set up an ambush, the Dingo runs into a mine, you're like, awesome, and then the Dingo is fine. Now, I do like this from the Axis players here. You see SKENG counter-capping, working on that fuel, and the Allies now forced to try to swing together to take the fuel here in this little built-up, these ruins.
And you can see they're anxious about the mediums coming. Look at this wall of AT they've amassed. They've gone for a second 75 mil half track and for double AT guns. They haven't even seen a single medium tank yet, but they feel it. They feel it because they haven't controlled their fuel.
Oh, big barrage coming in, a dual barrage, but Alpenwell's gonna dodge it. Flakverling in some danger here from these 75 mil half tracks. Takes 2 hits, backs out.
He still hasn't upgraded the survival package. He's playing a dangerous game. The utility of that smoke is just so invaluable.
Yeah, Dingo is refit. The smoke is super valuable. And then the other thing to remember, AT guns do 160 damage. Most main tank guns, to include the 75 mil half track, only do 120. So just a little bit less threatening than the AT guns in the long run. Although once it gets Vet 1 and target weak point, it also gets pretty nasty.
Target weak point is basically just a death sentence for whatever it shoots at, provided you're not driving into any AT yourself.
Yeah, it's really funny when you've got a 2-pounder that just totally shuts down a Tiger's main gun for 30 seconds. Which is a strategy that also works, by the way. I was playing the other day, and a DAK player had a Tiger hit the field, and I think it was Garrett, Turtle War, who was like, just roll 2-pounder target weak point into Crusader dive, and sure enough it worked. Tiger just sat there and got beat up. So
those abilities they punch well above their weight.
Yeah, but it's not something that's repeatable, especially in 3s and 4s. There's just not enough room on the field to swing like that. And look at this. So the Allies building up a strong point here, kind of on the north side of center. They're going to recoup their fuel. They've got a lot of AT and a lot of infantry. There's a lot of DPS here. But
they're running out of VPs.
Oh, they are. They're already halfway down.
Yeah, the map control isn't looking good for them. And there's so many DAK units on the field, especially, you know, invisible. Mm-hmm. They don't know where they can push because they don't have the vision.
One Flakverling gets spotted. Smoke allows it to break contact. Nice MG34 placement to suppress. Oh, but immediately the double barrage coming in from the 75 mil half tracks.
You can see just how ineffective these pushes are because they can't see where the enemy is, and the enemy's also got the ambush bonus.
Oh, but the Kratschützen gets annihilated.
That's a big deal because DAK struggles for vision, true vision at least.
But these
without
sappers may
that.
go down to the P-Grens here. Yeah, SKENG's going to pick up this sapper squad. So the one thing I think is really interesting, obviously the double Funkwagen is kind of nice for SKENG. That's going to really boost his munitions income. But with Espionage, normally you see with double DAK, one player goes to Espionage and really focuses on the Pak-38s with the incendiary anti-tank munitions. SKENG, he was just unlocked that, but he only has one Pak-38. And
he doesn't really need anything else yet. You know, they're not up against mediums. The only thing that's actually a target for them to shoot at is the M3s. So my guess is, you know, if and when they see Easy 8s and Grants rolling all over them, they'll consider rolling into an 88 or a second pack. But yeah, they don't need one right now. I'm curious to see what SKENG goes for here, because we've got Alpenwell with a Panzer III. Looks like SKENG's going for a Stuka. And then we've got a Matilda in the build for Thomas Smooth, or at least we did. Did that come out yet?
Yeah, yes. The Matilda's hit the field. Oh, they go hunting for the med truck with the flares and the 75mm half track. SKENG on his game this time, not asleep at the wheel, backs up quickly. Yeah, and this
Matilda is gonna kind of help the Allies have a way to contest the mid now.
Yeah, because
until this point, they've just been playing a conservative game, trying to hold their fuel in 1 BP.
Yeah, the Matilda's going to be able to tank shots from this Panzer III and then also beat up these Bersaglieri. The 75 mils, Panzer III kind of stuck in the rear. There is no real hard counter on the field. The walking Stuka
all of a sudden, the game's looking a little bit more even.
The KD has evened out a little bit. The map control actually now tilting in favor of the Allies. Matilda bounces the first shot from the P3, and the 75mm half tracks go hunting. First Stuka barrage comes in. Oh, almost wipes the Vickers and forces away an AT gun, but the Matilda is still going to be able to push unabated on the flank here.
And Matilda can drive in here uncontested. No snares.
Yeah, no snares.
Looks like that's going to be a... Yep.
Dead Bursa squad. They pick up the spare Breda. Snare comes in.
Oh, that
carpet
hurts.
Bombing run? No, this is the British incendiary bombing run.
As well as the incendiary rounds from the Pak-38 on the Matilda. That thing is limping home. But we've got 2 P-Grens on the retreat path.
Yeah, the
Matilda's got to be careful. He's taking the right pathway. He saw it coming.
Yeah, one of the
so it looks like Matilda's going to get out.
I'm not really sure to what.
Nor do I.
SKENG did a good job dodging that incendiary bombing run. But yeah, Matilda is going to escape.
I mean, you can see the builds of the Axis team complement each other really well, because the Espionage is a great solid rock foundation that Alpenwell can pivot off of, because it's such a team weapon heavy, forward reinforce heavy, you know, carefully position your units type of build. And Alpenwell loves to build compositions that can easily flank and get wipes on retreat. Yeah. So you've got this really cool hammer and anvil dynamic going on. Now we just need to see if they can pull off some good Stuka barrages on the AT guns.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head here, and honestly, as someone who plays with SKENG on a regular basis, he is really good at just locking down part of the map and being that anvil, which makes it really easy to play if you're someone who's aggressive.
He reminds me of Ares in that way. They play very similarly.
Yeah, yeah. So it looks like, yeah, Alpenwell going to go for multiple Panzer IIIs, which as he gets the upgrades,
it's kind of his bread and butter.
Yeah, he's so good at keeping them alive, and as they get the upgrades, they just get really nasty. Here comes another walking Stuka barrage. Allied infantry trying to cross the firestorm. Oh, big hits.
Jesus.
But not that much damage in the grand scheme of things.
A lot of fireworks, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the Allies are struggling to, you know, push into this formation that we have here. And these P3s plus the flak feeling, that's a formidable force on this flank here. AT guns are having a hard time getting a sight line on, and you know the flak feeling can shut down anything that tries to counter push.
Yeah, although the difference right now is the Allied players look like they're making a joint push together. The Axis a little bit spread apart. Double Matilda supported by an AT gun and two 75mm half tracks. Oh, Sapper's at risk of going down.
I don't know how many shots that flak feeling just ate, but I don't know how it's still alive.
Yeah, an actually excellent strafing run from Alpenwell forces away the 75mm half tracks. Matilda's able to continue to push up. Walking Stuka barrage comes in and pushes away some of the Allied infantry.
A second Matilda, I don't know about that call. You know that you're up against incendiary munition AT guns. Oh my god, the Stuka is so vulnerable here. Oh my god. He's got vision now.
I say
he's gonna go for it. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that.
But the smoke conceals the vehicle from the follow-up incendiary munitions. There are gonna be a couple of good attack round. Matilda gonna limp away again.
Oh no. The flak Veerling could even finish it off. Because it's down to 1 HP from that incendiary round. It just hit a mine.
Oh man. Attack round coming in. And wow, you're right. The flak Veerling gets the kill.
That's just incredible. But Max's flak Veerling goes down on the flank.
To the 75mm half tracks.
We got an easy 8 on the field. From Mr. Seaman.
Mr. Silk. Oh, P3 catches one half track out, but the second shows up.
The 75 needed to use its vet ability. Neither used their vet ability unless they were on cooldown. And that's the danger with using them as mobile artillery. If you use that artillery barrage, that shares a cooldown with target weak point.
It does.
And all of a sudden, you cannot stop a medium tank from shoving its way into your face.
But one P3 goes down, and the second one in trouble here. Easy 8 and Matilda going to team up to knock it out. That's actually a terrible trade for Alpenwell.
And you can see how these two players just are an amazing coordinated push type of duo here.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Vickers annihilated by the walking Stuka. And I believe that's the, not the creeping barrage. Excuse me, the Vet 1 ability. You can tell from the slightly slower fire rate.
Oh, yeah, it's like half the fire rate.
Yeah. The
Super slow.
Were dealing with a triple cap here, but now have kind of recovered. Assault engineers getting burned down by Bersaglieri, but the Allied armor in a good position to fend off these P3s. And SKENG might have to pivot here from a build perspective. Oh, well, the walking Stuka picks up a rifle squad and sets up another one to get killed by the Panzer Grenadiers. That's huge for the Axis as well.
I'm wondering what's next for the Allies. I feel like we should probably be seeing a transition into grants from the British player.
He did just tech grants, so I think that's on the way.
Gotcha.
And then, like we talked about, that's kind of the problem with Allies in twos, is if you can't, especially if you can't build up a huge VP advantage early, you just find yourself on the back foot. Units don't necessarily scale as well. Although we've got a wrecker out on the field for Mr. Silk. Not just doing the repairs, but doing salvage of some of these wrecks. It looks like he's going to be in position to get a second Easy 8 out shortly.
That'll boost up his economy significantly. Skank's floating 217 fuel, but he's only got 375 manpower, so if his aim is the Tiger, he's got a ways to go.
Basically a minute and a half's worth of manpower. He does have armored reserves unlocked, though. So I would guess that we're going to see a Tiger here shortly.
That's predicated on him not bleeding.
Well, everything in DAK is predicated on not bleeding. Although the KD right now very much in DAK's favor. Mr. Smooth looks like is going to refit his Matilda, so we will see. And he's got 2 grants queued up. Another walking Stuka barrage comes in, forces the AT gun back. Yeah, these Bersaglieri starting to show kind of the issues that you have with them in the late game. Oh, P3 takes a big hit from the 6-pounder and the Easy 8, forced to back up. Man.
We may need to see a 17-pounder at some point. Especially when that Tiger hits the field.
It's just so risky with all of this Axis artillery on the field, at least available to them, 17-pounder won't be able to stand up to the walking Stuka.
I found that if you get the team weapon training, that increases the durability enough to where you can semi-reliably survive and just tank a Stuka barrage. Maybe not the creeping barrage, but a regular barrage. Usually, unless the scatter is just perfect, you'll survive it. And if you play with it correctly, and you keep the towing vehicle right in the position to where you can just immediately pack it up and it doesn't have to do a donut, then you can make it work. I've made it work plenty of times before as the only option against, you know, Panther and Brumbar and Tiger spam. I think that might be what they need here, because the Tiger's going to hit the field relatively soon, and they don't have the critical mass of medium vehicles needed to swarm it to death.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, if SKENG goes for the 88 with all of the espionage upgrades, Royal Engineers gunned down by MG34, an 88 in the back with the incendiary rounds, the first strike bonus, is really going to put the fear of God in these grants. Three shots just burned all the way down to just a fraction of health.
And you can see, like, that thing is going to be out of action for a long time, because, I mean, Thomas Smooth doesn't have any engineers anymore.
He's better off just refitting that and buying another one.
That is an option.
I mean,
we do have the Wrecker, though. The recovery vehicle is going to come to his aid.
Not, you know? Like,
the thought has crossed my mind before, actually. Yesterday, even, when I was struggling for manpower and I had lost my engineers, would it be better for me to just refund this and produce it again?
Well, there is the Wrecker on the field, and yeah, there it is. The Wrecker's going to repair the Grant, so taken care of there.
Somehow has 0 XP. It vets up very quickly if you have it near any vehicle in combat.
A part of it is because he went for the assault engineers rather than the veteran crews. And so, because if you go for veteran crews as armored, it obviously comes on the field with vet 1.
Right.
Oh, another creeping barrage coming in.
Oh my god. On a pixel, that machine gun.
Yeah. And actually, the rifle squad gets away without any serious losses either. Alpenwell loses the other Krodschützen.
Both the EZ8s have engine damage here. This is big. This is... Looks like Max isn't going to push on it, but that is a risky situation for the Allies. If they lost both of those, that would be GG.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We got Grants coming in to cover.
And the Wrecker's coming up to repair, and Mr. Silk's about to have enough fuel to get a third EZ8 out. Tiger, meanwhile, has hit the field for SKENG.
And the Allies are not prepared for this. I mean, you know, 2 Grants and 2 EZ8s, like, that's a pretty formidable force, but nothing to reliably deal with it.
At least it's not a Black Prince. It'll actually get to the front sometime this year.
Yeah, maybe in 10 minutes.
Yeah. God, the Black Prince is so slow. I hope the Crocodile isn't that slow. Third EZ8 on the way, third Grant on the field. So, I think what this match is going to come down to the next couple minutes is who makes the first mistake. Because both sides...
Everybody, the Alpha on that Grant. Everybody's got a lot of moving pieces here. Now let's see what happens when we put them together on the chessboard. And you can see those Grants are not faring well here.
Just a sliver of health on both of them. Fortunately, the burn effect from the incendiary munitions won't kill a vehicle. Tiger forces away the EZ8s as well. And the Allies...
Grant just has terrible armor. I mean, 170 frontal armor. You're not bouncing anything.
Yeah, but so much firepower, especially as they vet up.
For sure. For sure.
Wow, EZ8 taking a ton of fire for its trouble. Fortunately, Pack 38, I chased the shot, almost gets the kill off, and another vehicle on a single pixel of health.
And even though he hasn't elected to go for an 88, that second pack is more than enough to deal with this armored fleet, because they're doing so much extra incendiary damage.
Yeah. I heard the Stuka coming in, and I thought if he somehow sees these vehicles in the back and lands a Stuka barrage there, that's GG.
That's a great combo too. Incendiary rounds, getting a vehicle down to 1 HP, and then barraging them.
Mm-hmm. Now, Axis is about to get the triple cap on here, which means the allies have less than essentially 2 minutes exactly. With the
and they've been on the back foot for VPs for a while now.
Yeah.
They're going to be feeling the pressure, so my guess is they're going to gear up for a push through the castle, because that's where they're poised at the moment. I think they want to make something decisive happen here pretty soon.
I think the castle makes a lot of sense, because it'll shield you from these Pack 38s. Although it looks like the Axis players see it coming and are already preemptively rotating over.
The thing is, the Grants can very easily deal with the Panzer IIIs, provided, you know, they don't get stuck on a pathing hiccup.
Yeah. Got to keep those casemated guns to the front. Now, Alpenwell, his P3 micro is on point. We see artillery cover coming in here from the Bursley commander. Oh man, Vickers takes a lot of damage. Easy 8s come in to support.
Bit of a lack of coordination here. The Grants are a little late to the party.
Well, high-powered strafing run comes in, takes the Easy 8s down to just a sliver of health. Oh, now the Tiger on the flank.
Luckily, it's turrets facing the wrong way for the allies.
Pack 38 in support. Oh, the incendiary bombing run comes in. What
allies are getting pincered here.
Well, the Tiger's got to back up. It's on just a sliver of health. One Easy 8 knocked out.
And all 4 P3s are surviving. So that didn't go the allies' way at all. They are slowly losing this war of attrition.
Yeah, second Easy 8 goes down. That looks like a GG.
Writing was on the wall there at that point. I can't blame them for giving that up. I think if they knew that that was their last push, though, they probably should have committed a little bit harder.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, so quick review of the build order. We had, for Mr. Silk, the USF player, 3 rifles into 2 of the 75mm half tracks, and then basically stalling for Easy 8s with some assault engineers along the way. And obviously the Wrecker, my second favorite USF vehicle behind the Whiz Bang. For Mr. Smooth, yeah, you got to throw it out there. I'm stoked to hear that they're buffing it in the next patch. For Mr. Smooth, you basically saw Sappers, Vickers, Dingo, Commandos into a Humber that died almost immediately, and then Tier 4 Matildas then swapped out for Grants there at the end, with some AT guns in support as well. For Alpenwell, Bersaglieri opening, 3 Bursas, Schützen 250. And then he pushed really hard into the Tier 4 DAK vehicles, mainly P3s with the flak for laying in the middle. For SKENG with the Espionage Battlegroup, a little bit more balanced. A couple of Panzer Grenadiers, Schützen 250. Also goes flak for laying, then gets some Pack 38s out. Double Funkwagen, which is kind of cool, into Walking Stuka, and then a Tiger. So really, I think that was the biggest thing for me. The complementary build order there from the Axis makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of mobility on Alpenwell's side. You have a lot of power, staying power, ground holding power on SKENG's side. But over to you, Red. What did you see, or what would you have liked to see from the Allies to close this one out in their favor?
I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me in the early game is a complete and total lack of recon. The single scout that may not even have had the flare upgrade, I didn't bother to check. No recce sections. As soon as you see funk wagons or you hear them in the fog of war, you get ambushed once. You want at least 2 recce sections or 2 scouts, you know, alternating flares, so that you can A, nullify the ambush bonus if you walk into it and, you know, you expose them, and B, that'll give you an opportunity to find weak points and gaps in the DAK frontline where the team weapons that are being cloaked aren't going to effectively, you know, mitigate a pushing flank. So a more recon focused build in the early game, especially from the Brit player because they have easier access to it, would have gone a long way. And in the late game, you know, P3 spam is a really difficult question to answer, but I think the second Matilda was a bit of a mistake. I understand, you know, banging your head against the Bursley wall and being frustrated about that, but you really don't need more than 1 Matilda. And at that point, you should be considering transitioning over to Grants. The Grants also deal very well with the Bursas, so it's not even like you're choosing one or the other. But the Grants, no contest can deal with P3 spam. Either that, or you could go for a guard, get it to vet 1, and then use a guard as a way to potentially fish for P3 kills with the stun, and just slowly attrition the DAK player down. Because what you don't want to happen is what happened, which was every single engagement, the P3s get away on a sliver of health, and eventually you get, the snowball effect, right? So you can't stand up to 4 or 5 plus P3s just shoving, all of their little guns in your face. You have to be able to take them out at least, in 1 or 2 engagements, just remove some of them from the map. And since you have a US player who can salvage them, trading down isn't actually a bad thing for you as the allied player, because you will come out economically ahead. So don't be afraid to trade down. And yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer. You could have gone for a 17 pounder, a guard section. I think the safest option would just be to transition to Grants earlier.
Yeah. And I constantly go back and forth on this, because the Grants are really tempting, but like you pointed out in the cast, they do have pretty low front armor, and because their main gun is casemated, sometimes I think the Crusaders can be a better counter, especially because the Crusader 2, the unupgraded, does just fine against infantry and team weapons, right? If you flank those Pack 38s, if you, like you pointed out, are using the Recce to find them, you can get around them, clear them, and decrew them. And then as the P3 kind of critical mass hits, you upgun them to Crusader 3s, then they kind of tangle just as well. I think what you saw here, though, was the allies on the back foot, especially down on VPs, getting into around the 30-minute mark. And they just don't have anything on the field that really like scratches that itch, right?
It's also super difficult to play with AT guns on the castle side, which played right into Max's hand, and he knew that, which is why he spent most of the match over there, because he saw that they had 2 AT guns and 2 75mm half tracks, and no way did he want to push into the open fields of the left, or the left flank on that map. So it is kind of a tricky situation, especially as Brits, when you don't have the best handheld AT options.
Well, yeah, and your best answer are your AT guns, because they do a little bit more damage, but against a walking Stuka that's really diligently microed, it is almost impossible to deal with, because your AT guns are never shooting. They're either dodging or getting cleared by rocket fire. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the classic balance problem right now for allies as you get into the team games, is if you're not way ahead, and you can't force the Axis team into making mistakes. And like, as much as I was trying to give SKENG a hard time during this game, he played well, and he is a hard player to unseat when he really locks in. Those Pack 38s supported by the Panzer Grenadiers, the Funkwagens, that's a hard spot to push him off.
He just owned that half of the map the whole time.
And so really what you think the Allies needed was some sort of artillery.
Bishops with Recce. Yeah. I mean, Bishops with Recce would have been able to keep SKENG from actually solidifying an impenetrable front line. The Recce would nullify his stealth, and you don't need the second Matilda. A Bishop would have been really strong there.
Yeah, there's like a mental block coming with back teching to Bishops late in the game. And it can be really frustrating to deal with the Stuka. So, hopefully a little bit of a balance update coming in on that late game already, but we will see. And then real quick. All right. So if you have access to the new battle groups, what do you think would have been helpful for the Allies or the Axis in this case?
I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't really looked at them very much. So I'm not super familiar, but I think the Crocodile probably would have made mincemeat out of SKENG's front line there, just because it can shrug off enough of the damage. So you combine the Crocodile with a Bishop. You displace an AT gun, you park your Crocodile on another AT gun. That's lights out. That's good luck.
Yeah. And then the attacking spirit, I'm worried about that, like healing in combat, but you want to talk about being able to push and counter espionage. Your units that heal as they like neutralize and capture territory.
Oh yeah, who needs a med truck when the Canadians just they have like adamantium skeletons or something.
Yeah. For the DAK side, I don't think the elephant would have been necessary. Actually, I think the tiger's better when dealing with massed armor. I actually think the American player, if you had tried to lean into the late game from the heavy weapons battle group, you might have actually like played yourself. Because a Pershing,
Pershing wouldn't have done well.
It would have done better than an Easy 8, but not that much better, especially not if it was by itself.
I think in this scenario, I'd rather have 2 or 3 Easy 8s than I would 1 Pershing, just because like the AT guns can focus fire the Pershing down, and before you know it, you've been alphaed to death.
Yeah.
And with an Easy 8, you can poke from several angles. If you have multiple of them.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
The big AT gun isn't but much better either with the walking Stuka there.
No, team weapon play was not the answer for the Allies.
Now, I'd love to see what a 50 cal does to a flak feeling though.
I gotta imagine. Fun. I mean, the flak feeling is basically just an Opel Blitz truck or whatever, right? Like it doesn't look like it's terribly armored. You would imagine 50 BMG would punch right through the engine block. So we shall see. Yeah. We shall see.
Yeah. We can only hope, right? I appreciate you watching this one with me. Skeng, thanks for being a good sport. I wish I had found more stuff to critique. I guess we
love you, Skeng.
The answer for me is I just gotta get better at the game. Mr. Smooth, Mr. Silk, well played. Excellent teamwork.
They're gentlemen too. They're always good sports. I want to point that out.
I really thought they were going to win this one. And then
they gave it a great try.
Yeah, and then Alpenwell, well played with the Bersaglieri. Even though Bersaglieri are boring, well played. Yeah.
GG's.
Well, yeah, GG's. Red, thanks, bud. And we'll see you come Tuesday with the new patch.